Okay, noun clauses. Yet another type of dependent clause. We've talked about adverb clauses and adjective clauses, and now we're going to talk about the third type of dependent clause, noun clauses. So, noun clauses are dependent clauses. Remember, that means that they cannot stand alone as a complete sentence. We must connect a noun clause to another independent clause. Noun clauses function just like a noun. Remember how adjective clauses were like adjectives, they describe nouns? Well, noun clauses are like nouns. So, just like nouns, a noun clause can be the object of a verb, it can be the subject of a sentence. Something to keep in mind, though, is that you do not use a comma with noun clauses. Not ever. So this is different than adverb clauses and adjective clauses where we sometimes use commas. You never use a comma with a noun clause. There are a few different types of noun clauses, so let's talk about each of those different types of noun clauses. The first type of noun clause is a noun clause that begins with a question word. Think who, what, where, when, why, how. In a way, these types of noun clauses provide an answer to an unasked question. So with a noun clause that begins with a question word, you can basically ask and answer your question all at once. Imagine that I have this question in my mind. Where does she live? But the answer is that I don't know. So I can use a noun clause to answer and ask that question at the same time. So instead of saying where does she live? I don't know. I can say, I don't know where she lives. What did he say? The answer is I couldn't hear. So I can put those together to say I couldn't hear what he said. Notice, you do not use question word order in the noun clause, and you do not include helping verbs like do or does or did like you would in a question when you're using them in a noun clause. So they're a little bit different. I take out, instead of where does she live, I say where she lives. Instead of what did he say, I say what he said. You'll also notice that the verbs change to agree with the subject when I take out the helping verb. When a noun clause has a question word and uses a be verb, the order also changes. So if I'm asking a question with the be verb, who are those men? The be verb doesn't use a helping verb. And so I have to change the word order to switch the subject and the verb. I don't know who those men are. There are some exceptions to this. When who is the subject in the question, then nothing changes. So who lives there? I wonder who lives there. In this example, who is the subject of both the question and the noun clause, so the order doesn't change. The noun clause, if it's a question, can also be the subject of the sentence. What did she say? And then I can say what she said surprised me. So that whole thing, what she said, that noun clause is the subject of the sentence. So let's do an example. Let's try to put one together. I've got when do they arrive? That's my question that I have in my mind. And the answer is I don't know. So the first thing I'm going to do is I don't know. Then my question word, when. Remember, I get rid of that helping verb, so no do, that gets crossed out. And then the rest of my sentence, they arrive. So this is my noun clause, when they arrive. I don't know, that's my independent clause. Sometimes infinitives can be used in the place of the noun clause when the meaning is should or can or could. So if my question is, what should I do? I can use a noun clause and I can say, I don't know what I should do, or I can replace that with an infinitive and just say, I don't know what to do. Another example, how can I get to the train station? I can use that whole thing as a noun clause. Please tell me how I can get to the train station. Or I can replace that with an infinitive. Please tell me how to get to the train station. The second type of noun clause is a noun clause that answers a yes or no question. If it's a yes or no question, my connecting word is whether or if. Will she come? The answer is yes or no. And if I am not sure if the answer is yes or no, I can say that answer. I wonder whether she will come. Or I can say, I wonder if she will come. There's really no difference in meaning. I would say that using if is probably more common among native speakers, but they're both perfectly acceptable. You can also use or not in these types of clauses. Or not makes it sound like you're a little bit more doubtful or a little bit more unsure about the sentence. I wonder whether or not she will come. I wonder whether she will come or not. Or I wonder if she will come or not. Notice that the only way that you can't create this phrase is you cannot say, I wonder if or not she will come. So that is not acceptable. Only these three ways are an acceptable way to use or not with a whether or if noun clause. So let's look at an example. Does he need help? That's a yes or a no question, but my answer is I wonder because I'm not sure if the answer is yes or no. So I start with my answer, I wonder, and then I can use either whether or if to begin my noun clause. So I'm going to use if, and then the rest of the sentence, no helping verb, just the rest of the sentence. I wonder if he needs help. And that right there, if he needs help, that's my noun clause. The last type of noun clause that you are probably more familiar with is a noun clause that uses that as the connecting word. Noun clauses can often be the object of a verb. In that case, when the noun clause is the object of certain verbs, then we use that to connect that noun clause to the verb. In speaking, the word that can often be left out, but it should be included in writing. So I can say, I think. Well, what is it that you think? That Scott will come. If I'm speaking, I can say, I think Scott will come, and I don't have to use the word that. Here are some common verbs that are often followed by a that clause. Agree, believe, decide, discover, explain, feel, find out, forget, hear, hope, know, learn, notice, promise, read, remember, say, tell, think, and understand. So those are all verbs that are very often followed by a noun clause. Noun clauses can also be used in a structure where you have a person as your subject, some form of the be verb, and then an adjective. For example, I am happy. I, person, am, be verb, happy, adjective, and then it's followed by a noun clause, that Alice called. Here are some common person-adjective combinations. I use them a lot with these adjectives: afraid, amazed, angry, aware, certain, confident, disappointed, glad, happy, pleased, proud, relieved, sorry, sure, surprised, and worried. You can also follow this pattern as well, it plus be plus an adjective. For example, it is surprising. What's surprising? It is surprising that Mary came. And some common adjectives that follow this pattern: amazing, clear, good, important, interesting, likely, lucky, nice, obvious, possible, strange, surprising, true, undeniable, known, wonderful. Noun clauses with that can also be used as the subject of a sentence, but it's not very common. That Carolyn likes her new job is important. The reason we don't usually do this is because typically in English, you don't like to front load a sentence, which means you don't like to have too much information right away at the beginning of the sentence. You usually save more information for the end of the sentence. So it's more likely that the subject position would begin with a phrase like the fact that, or it is a fact that. The fact that Caroline likes her new job is important, or it is a fact that Caroline likes her new job. So let's take a look at example, how we put those together. This is pretty simple. I start with my independent clause, I promise. What do you promise? That I will do the homework. So here's my noun clause, that I will do the homework. One of the most important ways that we use noun clauses is in direct quotes turning into reported speech. Direct quotes are used to state what a person said exactly. Anna said, quote, my brother is a student. Or like this, my brother, Anna said, is a student. Another way, though, that you can report what someone said is to use reported speech. So you're not saying exactly the words of the person who is speaking, but similar enough that you can report it to someone else. So this uses a noun clause to indirectly state what someone said. Anna said that her brother is a student. In reported speech, verbs, adverbs, and pronouns can change when going from direct quotes to reported speech. Generally, when the verb in the quotation is in the present tense, it changes to the past tense in reported speech. The reason for this is because at the time the person is speaking, it's the present. But usually, once you report that speech to someone else, the quotation is now in the past, so you're going to change to past tense. So if we have in the direct quote, John said, quote, I cannot come to the game. When we report the speech, John said that he could not come to the game. So two things change here. Instead of I change it to he, and instead of cannot, I change the verb to past tense could. When the verb in the quotation is in the past tense, the verb changes to past perfect in the reported speech. Chris said, I went biking yesterday becomes Chris said that he had gone biking. If the reported speech, though, is immediately reported, the verb doesn't change to past tense. If the speech is reported immediately, you're basically still in the present, so you don't have to change to past tense verbs. What did the teacher just say? She said that she wants us to hand in the essay next week. So I don't have to say she said that she wanted, right? Just she wants. Keep that verb present tense. If the reported speech is presenting something that is still true in the present, then also the verb does not change. She said the world is round. She said that the world is round. Well, just because her quotation is in the past doesn't mean that all of a sudden the world has become flat. It's still round. That's still a fact, so the verb doesn't change. If the verb used to report the speech is in the simple present, the present perfect, or the future tense, you don't change the verb in the noun clause. I watch TV every day. If I say she says that she watches, that stays the same. Or she has said that she watches, or she will say that she watches. No change with those verb tenses. If the reported speech is used to present an imperative or a command, an infinitive is used in the noun clause. Also, keep in mind that tell is usually used instead of say as the reporting verb. Watch TV. She told me to watch TV. So not she said me, she told me to watch TV. There are some special cases with ever words. When you use these ever words in noun clauses, it gives the idea of any. So if I use whoever wants to come is welcome, means that anyone who wants to come is welcome. Or whatever, he says whatever he thinks, means he says anything that he thinks. Or whenever, you can leave whenever you want, meaning you can leave at any time. Wherever, she goes wherever she wants, she goes any place. Or however, the students can dress however they please, meaning they can dress in any way that they please. So that's it for noun clauses. If you have any questions, we can talk about those in class. Otherwise, please do the assignment and look at any practice materials that are available.